What if there were 5 steps that could radically transform your marriage from a broken relationship to one of deep connection? While our culture definitely celebrates big weddings, the reality is most of us enter into marriage woefully unprepared without the skills and knowledge of how to build a successful marriage. My guest today is Rabbi Shlomo Slatkin, and he is the founder of the Marriage Restoration Project. He's here with us today to discuss strategies and tools and important information about how to really build a successful marriage and how to transform broken ones as well. Rabbi Slatkin, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jennifer.
I first want to just get a little bit of background from you before we dive into your area of expertise and learn how you got started and interested in couples counseling.
Sure. So when I would say newly married, about 2 years into our marriage, and we had our first child, we had some issues, ups and downs every couple has in the beginning, but it got to the point where it was we need to get help. And I spoke to a colleague of mine, and my wife's hairdresser told her about Imago therapy. And we went to an Imago therapist, and after an hour and a half, we were back in love again. We saw a newfound hope. We understood kind of why we were struggling, and we saw a path forward. And at the time, I was getting my master's in counseling psychology, but I actually wanted to be a pulpit rabbi. So I was kind of doing that, getting my degree on the side. But after doing the Imago therapy and being so impacted by it, our counselor told us, he said, why don't you do the training? It's a good thing to do, have on your back pocket, so to speak. And I did that. And then it wound up becoming, I kind of changed careers and really focused on helping couples. I felt so strongly about what we went through and how we could help other couples go through the challenges in their relationship.
I love that honest and personal connection. I think it's probably one of the common things that led me into marital law as well, is just because in my own marriage, we bring that personal experience to bear in our professional lives. I especially also love that it was your wife's hairdresser that helped you, lead you there. We know that hairdressers are a great confidant in times of marital troubles. Let's talk a little bit about what Imago therapy is and how it differs from other types of therapy.
Sure. So Imago therapy is unique in the sense that it was really the first couples modality. What I mean by that is there was something called marriage counseling before, but basically what they did was they took the individual paradigm, whereas two individuals have their problems. We need to figure out how to work on ourselves together and to help improve the relationship. Imago, it's kind of radical in the sense that it focused on the couple as the patient. Meaning it's not about diagnosing one person or the other. It's about the space between, the interaction, the space where the couple interacts with each other. And if that space between can be safe, and then the couple can thrive. If the space between is toxic, then the couple has challenges. So it's a whole new way of looking at things. Instead of just looking at pathologizing one spouse and pointing the blame, and of course, especially in divorce proceedings, it's very common to say well, this person was just the bad guy, is looking at the couple as a whole. And another thing, that's just in terms of regular individual therapy, but also in terms of some of the more popular couples modalities that kind of came after Imago. What I find that Imago does great is that it really sees the whole picture, and it also gives practical skills. I find a lot of couples come to me, they've been to other therapy, and they said, we don't even know how to talk. We just go to the therapist and we're dependent on the therapist. Imago empowers the couple to get the skills they need, so they don't need to be dependent on therapy forever. It helps them create emotional safety so that they can really nurture that space and create that sacred space in between so that their relationship can thrive.
I love what you're saying about that safe space. How do couples create that? I mean, what is, I'm just thinking so often the complaint I hear about marriage therapy is that people are just rehashing the old wounds and the finger pointing and the blame, and that nothing ever really gets resolved. So how do you help couples in Imago therapy build that safe space?
Sure. We subscribe to Einstein's definition of insanity, that if you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, you're not going to get them. So having a couple come in and duke it out in the session, just like they do at home, is not going to be effective. It's not going to magically create a solution. We find that we have to have a radical shift in how the couple interacts. One of them is that the couple actually has to face each other. So instead of complaining to me about their problems, I have the couple face each other, look each other in the eye, which is really hard for some couples, and really begin to learn how to have a safe conversation. And it's no back and forth. One person shares, the other person mirrors back. It's a very structured process, the dialogue process, where both people can feel heard and both people can calm down and be less reactive. And that's really the challenges, because we find that every couple and our spouse uniquely triggers each other. And they push our buttons in just the right ways. They just seem to know how to do it. And this is happening even subconsciously. We pick someone who's kind of tailor-made to push our buttons. So it's challenging. But if you have the right skills to be able to really learn how to calm down, to be present, to be able to slow things down, to really enter the world of the other and listen, then both people begin to feel safe. Both people begin to feel heard. They feel that they can open up, and they feel that they're not afraid of the reaction, because they know that their spouse's job right that moment is really just to listen and be present.
So you just touched on one of the key things that I remember. I remember seeing Dr. Havel Hendricks on Oprah years ago, but talking about, the selecting the partner who's going to help us relive those traumas or pains from childhood. Why is that? Why do we have a knack for picking the exact person who's going to be great at triggering all of those things?
So who in their right mind would want to re-trigger? If you have a traumatic childhood, why would you want to find someone to re-trigger that? So obviously it's happening unconsciously. No one consciously would like to do that. But we fall in love with this person. And in that romantic phase, our brain is anesthetized to all the potential pain and fears. We don't see what we're getting into, even though if we look back on it, we probably could say, yeah, I could have predicted that. In that moment, we needed to be anesthetized, because otherwise no one would get married. So we're kind of like drugged up on the romantic love chemicals. And then once we commit, it begins to fade away. And we start going to what we call the power struggle. And this is where we've experienced ourselves. We're like questioning our relationship. Should we be in this marriage? Someone else, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe someone else would be better. And we're just really feeling like, who is this person that I'm with? I thought they were just basically like me, and now they're different, and I don't agree with them. And how do I cope with those differences? And what Imago says is that marriage is the unfinished business of childhood. That means that it's not a coincidence. It's not your bad luck. You pick somebody who could help you work through these issues, and that marriage is for the purpose of growth and healing. So it's not just go back and experience the pain again, but go back, get it re-triggered. But at this time, if you can become conscious of why it's bothering you, then no longer is it, oh, my spouse is the bad one. They might be doing some things that are very, disruptive and hurtful. But why am I having such a strong reaction? It's because it's triggering my own challenges. When I can take ownership for that, and when my spouse can hear that, instead of feeling like I'm criticizing them and feeling defensive, they can have compassion, and they can go, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you like your parents did. I want to be able to meet your needs because I care about you. And then the person who's upset can also take ownership and realize, okay, I don't like that you're doing this, but I realize why it's a sensitive issue for me. And the truth is that if you don't come to that conclusion and you don't create what we call the conscious marriage, if you leave the marriage in the power struggle and go find somebody else, you're going to be taking that baggage with you in the next relationship. We find so many times that second and third marriages, people are attracted to the same type of partner, and they're wondering, like, what's going on here? But they're the common denominator.
And I think the message of empowerment that I'm really hearing in this is the fact that, when I'm sort of in that unconscious, unaware state and operating by default, I mistakenly think that the other person is the reason for all of my pain and suffering, right? It's easy to project that onto them. And there's really no hope of healing in that point because you're completely powerless over the other person. But through this kind of work where you're really looking for the opportunity to grow and heal myself, the amazing news is I get to do that work. I have complete control over that. And I think that's where radical transformation happens. Is that what you see?
Yeah. When you can take responsibility for your reactivity and you can change, then you stop the dynamic because it's a dance. So if both people are contributing, then you're going to perpetuate the cycle. But once one person becomes aware and realizes, oh, when you do this, This reminds me of my childhood. I feel scared. I shut down. I pull away. It's no wonder why you pursue me when I pull away, or it's no wonder why you pull away when I pursue you, or I get loud. When I can be aware of that, I can make a conscious choice of how to respond. And when I respond differently, then I don't re-trigger you. In terms of like, normally we say that the way that we get safe is the way that makes our partner feel unsafe. So again, like if I shut down, if my partner needs to be seen, then they're going to make a lot more noise and be scarier so they can get seen, which is going to make me shut down more. So if I can be aware of my behavior and I can change my behavior, then there's no need for that reciprocal bad behavior. And then all of a sudden you can have a different type of relationship. So it is powerful. You can learn about yourself, and this is also something that's important, especially when people are thinking about getting divorced, that why this work is so helpful, because even if you decide to go through the divorce in the end, you'll learn so much about yourself. You'll be much better prepared for your life ahead. And if you go into a future relationship, and even just having the resentment and hatred, you don't want your ex to live rent-free in your head. It's going to impact you. Yeah, kids, forget about it. The kids have to suffer. I saw firsthand. So my wife is a child of divorce, so it's very near and dear to us, because and this is why when we work together with me, Rivka's worked together with me to create the Marriage Restoration Project, because she doesn't want people to have to deal with what she had to growing up. She wants people to be able to have, healthier and loving homes. And as bad as it was before the divorce, I think it was even worse after the divorce. The parents were so angry at each other, and the kids paid the price. And it impacted her, and it's impacting our own kids, because her childhood trauma that she experienced impacted who she was as a mother and a wife. And we've been working on it, for it's over 24, almost 25 years. But it impacts. So it's important to be responsible as an adult and make a conscious decision and try to be your best self. I mean, that's really what you want to get out of this, regardless of what you decide to do. Be your best self. And if you don't do the work, you're going to just be stuck in that negativity and blame and hatred, and it serves no one.
And I want to just pause for a moment and really emphasize that message of hope for people, because when you do the work, when you learn how to protect yourself, and you're not always, blaming somebody else for your uncomfortable feelings, like everything changes, and it's a much better way to live with much healthier relationships. And it's totally possible when you're willing to do the work. Let's talk real quick about what happens when one spouse is willing, but the other is maybe hesitant. For somebody is watching this and they're like, yes, I want to do this work, but I don't think my spouse is going to do it with me. Do you ever have people who see you individually and begin the process just working on themselves?
Sure. Occasionally we do work with people individually, but we really feel like the best work is in the couple, because it expedites the process. It's just like, it's so much better and so much faster. We do have a self-study program that a lot of individuals like to do, and they can learn more about relationships and how they can be healthy. And that can be a great first step for them to work on themselves. And then their spouse becomes interested because they see them changing. And then in other cases, I would say, even if someone is hesitant, you can just say, look, I would like to be able to just give this a try, and just to get some clarity and be able to communicate better, especially if they have kids. It's like they know that they're going to need to be able to work on that. And then, there's no pressure. I'm not here to change you. And if you can get them in the door, even if they're hesitant, I have seen, there's always, we call it dragger and a draggee.
Right.
So if both people are fully committed, it works much faster. But even if one person's hesitant, if they are willing to come, it still can be tremendous, because once they feel safe enough and once they begin to see what's really going on, it really opens up so much, and the people have a change of heart.
And even if the decision still is ultimately to go their separate ways in part, I will tell you that, we were talking about your wife's divorce, that we see so much post-divorce parental conflict. Like, the divorce in and of itself doesn't solve problems. You're usually trading one set of problems for another set of problems. And it can be even more challenging to manage if these issues haven't been worked through. And I just think that there's so much value in both parents kind of engaging and doing that own work. But even if the other parent isn't, still take this opportunity for yourself, right?
Sure. You'll learn so much about yourself. You'll be much healthier going forward. if you do the work.
The other thing that came to mind while you were talking was you were saying how our spouse knows how to trigger us. And as a mother who I currently only have one teenager left, but I had two others who have now grown into wonderful adults. But wow, teenagers also know our triggers, right? Like nobody else. And I'm imagining that these skills are just really good and transfer to other types of relationships as well.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We've seen that. I mean, I've worked with adult parents, and I mean, children and their adult children, like they were estranged parents, and just estranged from each other, or even just younger kids, teenagers especially. That once they're teenagers, you can have more of like a normal conversation. Maybe you could reason with them, perhaps. And just this is important in anything. I mean, even in businesses, in your work, you can use the skills of being able to communicate, to listen, to be there for another person. I've seen people take what they've learned as a couple and be able to apply it in all their relationships and work with people in different settings also. So it's really invaluable.
If somebody is thinking right now, well, that all sounds good, but it's too late for us. Is it really ever too late?
I don't think it's ever too late. I've even seen couples that have already, people have filed papers, couples that have even told me, like, we're getting divorced and we just want to do this to move forward, and we don't want you to convince us to stay together or anything. And I was very careful not to. And by the end of the first day, one of them was ready to like I want to stay together. So you'll be surprised. I mean, people in really bad situations, if they're willing to show up and do the work, I've seen people really have incredible turnarounds, even when they thought they were already like the divorce was imminent. I mean, I just got actually a few people recently that they wrote us. They said, we put our divorce papers on. Divorce is on hold now. Another couple said, we decided to stay together and not get divorced. So it's really powerful. Just from a few days, it can make a huge difference.
And I'll tell you, although I'm a divorce attorney and my business is based on people getting divorced, we do love it when there's a really good, healthy reconciliation in place, right? It's not just not moving forward with the divorce, but it's actually doing the work to make your life better. And that's a profound opportunity. I always consider it a privilege when we get to experience that, which isn't all that often, but with resources like this, I hope more people will take advantage of it. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the programs that you do offer and how families can work with you. I know you're based in Maryland, but you've got therapists all over, and I assume the program's running all over. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yes, we have programs in person and virtually in many different states around the country. And what we do is we do a 2-day private intensive with a couple. So we work with a couple for 2 days. And it's really an opportunity to just take that time to really focus on your relationship, to understand just in general why relationships start off so great and then turn into a nightmare. And specifically what happened to your relationship and what you can do to make it better, to have the real conversations, to learn the skills, to really create a roadmap for moving forward and to get the clarity that you need to be able to see whether the relationship is viable. And even if the marriage isn't viable, but the relationship will usually be intact if you have children. So, and then after the 2 days, we do have support afterwards, because we find that it's a lot of couples come in 2 days. They're wild. They see things differently. They're hopeful. They're in the honeymoon period again. But once they go home and have to be confronted with life's challenges, it is easy to go back to default mode. So having that support going forward is really helpful. So that's our private program. That's kind of our signature program. And that's where couples who are in crisis, couples that are contemplating a divorce, or even just want to get closure, that's really the fastest way to see some results and get clarity. The other option we have is a self-study program with videos, audios, and this can be done by one spouse, let's say with an unwilling partner, or even both spouses together, something they can do in the comfort of their own home at their convenience. It's a really affordable option to learn more and to get clarity. And then, if the couple decides they want to reconcile and they need more support, we're always there to help with that.
I started off by saying there are 5 steps. Can you go over maybe a couple of what those steps look like to transforming a relationship?
Sure. So we have a part of our online self-study program that is the five steps to a healthy and happy marriage. So the first step is commitment. If a couple's committed, they can achieve anything, even the worst situations, infidelity, they can recover if they're committed. And if a couple is not so committed, even like little minor grievances can turn into big ones. So I found that's the number one secret. Now, if your marriage is not doing well, it's kind of hard to commit. So you need to feel there's a reason to commit. And we help you do that by seeing how things can be different, how you can communicate different. The second step is what we call seal your exits. That because the relationship is so uncomfortable, we often find ways to distract ourselves. We call it more of like an invisible divorce. You're maybe staying together, but you're occupying yourself with work. You're working extra long hours when you don't have to. You're on your social media all day. You're taking your kids to the soccer game and every other activity and avoiding your spouse. So sealing your exits means creating that space where you can actually focus on each other and not just going everywhere but your relationship. Once that space, the exits are sealed, you want to make sure that space is a healthy space. And that's step 3 is to detox your marriage. That means that eliminate the shame, the blame, the criticism, all the negativity that poisons that space. That's why you don't want to be in that space. So we need to, once we have you present, we got to get rid of that. Finally, 4 is acknowledge the other. And this is where we really teach couples about the Imago dialogue process to help people really learn how to listen and how to share in a way that acknowledges that you're in a relationship with someone other than yourself. Learning, because I feel upset doesn't necessarily mean my spouse is available at that moment to hear me. So being mindful of that. Or if I'm listening, really being in the other person's world instead of in my own mind and with all my rebuttals and ideas. And then finally, we call them love infusions. Those are various things, daily appreciations, caring behaviors, date night, lots of positive things that you can infuse into your relationship. And we find with the 5 steps that although there is a logical order, we find sometimes couples have to start from step 5 and just drown the relationship with the positive. Really just focus on everything that's good and reconnect and rekindle that spark. And then that gives you the impetus to want to recommit and to do all the other things. So it's a dynamic program, but it's based on my years of working with couples and really breaking it down, really simplifying the process. Because a lot of times when people think about therapy, it's very intellectual, it's very interesting and insightful. And we kind of wanted to make it really user friendly with these 5 steps.
I love the practical approach and I love the steps. And I love the fact it's 2 days, right? As opposed to like being in a long, drawn out therapy for months and months, not feeling any progress. So, I mean, what an incredible opportunity that can be for a couple. So thank you for going over those 5 steps. All right. Now, if you want to learn more about Dr. Rabbi Slatkin and about the Marriage Restoration Project, we will include a link to his website, and do go explore it and reach out to him if this is something that you're interested in following up with. And as always, please subscribe and stay tuned for more episodes of our podcast. Thank you so much.